Hello, everyone. This is Megan Mitchell. Um, I know of Megan. I don't know much about her. We probably have, I think, one or two conversation, and so I invite Megan here to just have a conversation with her. So, Megan, if you could please say hello.
Hello, that is my name. I am from the United States, Illinois specifically. And yes, Julie reached out to me, and I am very, very grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation and just get to know each other and chat about ONPASSIVE and our lives and things like that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Megan, for accept the invitation to be here with me. So I don't know where to start, but let's start from the very beginning. Where is your family originally from? A little bit about your family, however you want to give us, we'll take it.
Sure. Yes, I am from Illinois, Southern Illinois, and most of my family is in Southern Illinois. And I grew up with a father that was a teacher. He was a principal at one point, and after he retired, he drove a bus for the school district. So I grew up in that whole education family. My mother actually was a hairstylist, and my grandfather, who was really, really a big part of my life, all of my grandparents, but especially my grandfather, who was also an educator and a pastor, and also an artist. So those people really, I have one sister,
Wow.
and yeah, so.
Wow. So I could totally see how you were born, how you were shaped into what a lot of what you're doing right now. But first, I wanted to ask you, because since you are the daughter of a teacher and a principal, was it that the time that you growing up, were you expected to be like, okay, a teacher, I'm a principal. There's a certain way you have to act. There's a certain way you have to shape kind of the way how you grow up.
Not really. I don't think there was anything really put on me. My family was very supportive of whatever we wanted to do. But, in terms of behavior, things like that, they didn't really have to force that. I was kind of a good student, and I actually had my father as my teacher at one point, which was interesting. But, it wasn't an issue because I wasn't the type of kid that would get in trouble at school or, rock the boat, things like that. But no, there was not really any expectation. They were very supportive of whatever our interests were.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, obviously, I know you're a teacher. You've been teaching for 23 years. Was
Yes.
that your first choice or your first profession? I know you have interior design. What is it after college that you choose to do to like, okay, I'm going to be teaching for 23 years?
Well, actually, art, creating is really my passion all around. I feel like, when we talk about glimmers and things that give us joy in life and what drives us, creating has always been it for me, even since I was a child. And I didn't initially think that I was going to go into teaching. I originally was planning on getting my degree in art and art education and moving on into art therapy as a master's program. But during that time, I had a very close friend who was also in the art education program that went into art therapy. And after kind of speaking with her, I realized that it wasn't exactly something that I was interested in. So also I worked all throughout high school, and I worked all throughout college, and interior design was always a big part of my life. I worked for a couple of different companies, but the one that I worked for the longest was a furniture company, and I did in-home design for them for 10 years. So when I started teaching, my first year teaching, I actually went to night school and got my degree in interior design also. So, I did both for a very long time up until my son was born. And then it was kind of like, I needed that set hours, exactly what was gonna, as far as that kind of stuff. So I kind of, I don't want to say fell into staying in teaching, but it does definitely, when you have a child, it does kind of put you on a certain path and limit some other things. So creating, I would say, was my always my idea of what I wanted to do, something that was creative. And I do get to do that as far as with the students because I teach art.
Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful. And I know you have a son, Lyric, 15
Mhm.
years old.
Yes.
And is he really into art and into kind of like putting you to that? Is that what you
Um,
are doing?
no, he actually, the funny thing is kids, I feel like kids like to do the opposite of what their parents do. And when he was younger, he was very into drawing, he was very into art. Um, but as he's grown up, he's kind of like gone the opposite direction, and he's not interested in art at all, which is fine for me because I don't try to push him into any specific area.
I see. That's really cool because many parents want to push their kids to
Yes.
actually doing exactly what they want. I mean, it's yeah, it's strange nowadays, but
I do see that.
yeah.
As a teacher, I've seen a lot of students that are my students who are gifted and who are talented and who really their passion is art, but their parents do not want them to pursue a degree, an advanced degree, or a career in art. So there's a lot of stereotypes.
I have to tell you, I had a little bit of background of teaching too. My degree was in teaching, but
Yeah.
I've actually never pursued it, except I did, substitute and stuff like that. Substituting or dealing with high school kids was the most difficult thing at a time when I did. So, how are you dealing with all these crazies out there, especially right the I would have to say the biggest influence for kids right now is basically social media, unfortunately. But how is it that because I know that you're teaching them art, creativities, but how do you see nowadays and how do you implement that into what you're teaching and kind of drawing the kids' interest out of what you're teaching them? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it's changed a lot over the years. Teaching has changed. The kids have changed. I've noticed, their attention spans aren't as long as they used to be. They want more instant gratification. Of course, COVID and that period of time really hurt them socially because they were wearing masks, and it was odd because when we no longer had to wear masks, there were some of them that did not want to take them off.
Mhm,
They were so uncomfortable with people seeing their face
mhm.
after having hit it for those, especially like middle school coming into high school.
Yeah.
But I, my situation is unique because the students that I have are really varied.
Mhm.
I have kind of like a melting pot of kids because a lot of them are, some of them are the athletes, they still take art, but I have the kids who art is it is really their lifeline. I have students that have stayed in for 5 years. I actually have eighth grade also because my district is one of the only districts that has eighth grade at the high school.
Mhm.
So I have had these kids for like 5 years, and it really becomes their safe space. Um, you know, I would say that one of the biggest issues with kids is mental health. That is huge. They really struggle with that. Social media, just thing. It's sad to see how much they struggle. But my class is kind of their break from
Oh, that's beautiful.
from as far as the seriousness from judgment. My class has every kind of person in it, and so that's kind of really where I draw them in is they love hearing life stories. They love being able to kind of just let loose a little bit and be themselves. So, it's it's changed though
Yes,
over the
yes,
years.
yes. And I appreciate that you are saying that when they come to you, it's kind of like a safe place for them to just kind of tell their story through
Mhm.
the artwork that they put into, through their creativity. Is there or has there been a time where you look at the art and you totally see the story that this child is telling the story, and it kind of pulled your heartstring a little?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I actually even taught elementary for 1 year. But yes, you do get a lot of that. And one of the things that I do in the beginning of the year is kind of a getting to know you sort of situation and project. And some of the kids aren't as comfortable sharing. Some of them are, but they will really tell me too much, more than I need to know. So it's a line, because it's almost like the art room becomes a little bit like a counseling session. Um, but yeah, you do get to see that.
Right. I could imagine that it could be.
Yeah,
It's a counseling sessions almost too.
yeah.
But I love your attitude, and I love your smile, the stuff that you put out on Facebook. Just a random, every day you post a picture of you smiling. It's beautiful. You are
Thank
very
you.
you are very inspiring to others,
Thank you.
the way that you do and what you do. So let's talk a little bit about daydreaming, because I know you have mentioned about you are daydreaming a lot, and it is true because your creative mind always thinking of things. So
Yes.
yes, and that is okay to have daydreams. And tell me about some of what are you daydreaming about? What are you imagining about when you have those moments?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, and I think what you're referring to is some of the things that I said when I spoke on the
Shining lights, yeah, what?
yeah, yeah. I had these elaborate ideas in my head when I was young, and I used to keep this kind of this. I don't want to say a dialogue, but you know what life would be like, and things like that. And nature was a big part of it. I always spent time in nature growing up, and I'm blessed to have done that, because I realize now that so many kids just sit on their phones and on their computers. And I was out playing in creeks and exploring and things like that. But daydreaming was a big thing, and then of course there was a little period where reality, so you sort of stop daydreaming. But I'm past that with On Passive, because On Passive is giving us the option to daydream again. And I'm always seeing the parallels between other aspects of life on passive. I like to see parallels between things, common things. On passive is IT and AI, but it really is kind of a mirror of everyday life too. And one of my other passions is actually gardening,
Mhm.
horticulture, landscaping, and I love it so much, and I spend so much time working on it in the summer. And while I'm doing it, I just keep seeing all of these relationships in my head with On Passive. You know, it's it's like Mr. Mufareh has created this. He's creating this garden, but he didn't go to a nursery and grab the plants that were already mature. He's planting a seed.
Yeah,
He's planting a seed from scratch, and there's a big difference between planting something from scratch and going and picking it up at the nursery.
absolutely.
And when you first plant a seed and it starts to grow, it's fragile. It's very fragile, and trying to transplant it right away, the roots are weak. They dry out quickly and it can die off. So I look at that and I think about how, if he had tried to launch On Passive in the beginning, the roots were not deep. They were shallow. And and he knew that. So, when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the fact that he has selected, when you garden, you have to know your soil. You have to know, is it acidic? Is it, alkaline? You have to know all of these things. And he's choosing the places that he's planting the seed of on passive very carefully. He's choosing, Dubai and Egypt, and he's making these choices, with great care, just like you would if you were cultivating a garden. And um, you know, he doesn't want something that grows that is kind of what you would call a one-hit wonder. Gladiolas are beautiful, beautiful flowers, and I love them to pieces, but they grow shallow roots. They're weak. They're tall and they're weak, and you have to support them. And they bloom once, and then they're done. And that's not what he wants. He wants something that is going to be long term. A perennial. He doesn't want an annual. And I've just been thinking about this as I garden, just how it reminds me so much of what we have going on passive. You have to care for your garden. You have to look after it, and you have to make sure that it's on the right track. And that's what he's been doing. Because if you leave it alone, you're going to have weeds overtake it. And I look at the trials that he's gone throughout the past 6 years, and the things he's alluded to recently about being off track a little bit, and how he's weeding those out. And it's also very similar to how the founders are. When you create a landscape, not all of the plants survive. Some of them aren't suited for, that that they're not all going to survive. And that's kind of how it is. Some plants, some founders are not, weren't suited for us. They're not suited for the company. So they've kind of fallen by the wayside also. But it's a game of patience, and you don't see the results of your efforts for a long time, but that there's a lot going on underneath the surface. And I think that's how it is with us. He's creating these strong roots with the Burj Khalifa, and the Gitex Global, and the sponsorship with the World Cup. All of these things, to me, they're roots that are reaching out. And it's a very broad, large garden that he's creating. So that's just kind of where my mind has been lately, because I spend so much time in the garden and in landscaping, and I just see so many comparisons. And I love that OnPassive is so universal. It's not just AI IT. You can find value in, you can use it in so many ways. And I look forward to that in the future. I look forward to more gardening. I daydream about gardening. I daydream about the possibilities of things that can be achieved once the roots are strong. It's just it's exciting, to think about all of those things.
Wow, you give me goosebumps because
Mhm.
you said it so well, and I love your analogy, of seeding and
Mhm.
taking care of the plant as it grows. And some you have to weed them out. You got to push all the weeds away. I love it. I mean, the what you've just said right there, it's beautiful in
Thank you.
describing on passive and what Mr. Ash Mufareh is doing. It's absolutely beautiful. I just love it. Give me goosebumps right now.
Yeah, and it's, who wants to go and purchase the same flower and plant it all over? It's diverse. On
Yeah,
passive is diverse.
yeah,
You
because
know,
you really don't know where that plant actually seeded from, where it
right?
comes from. What if you, oh gosh, it's so beautiful because you started with this seeding from the very bottom, from the scratch. It was absolutely beautiful what you're
Thank you.
saying right there. And that's why I have many times, and I do too, Megan. I am comparing, you saying the word parallel, but for for me in my imagination, it's more like, you see the situation that you're facing and you see what's in unpassive, and you kind of comparing them together. And as you say, we are all connected. Everything that is happening in
Yes.
unpassive is interconnected,
Yes.
right? And not only just the product interconnected, but the way how it's formed, the way how it create the people that in there is interconnected. And as I said many times, there's some spiritual in there.
Oh,
There's some divine
absolutely.
intervention, and I felt it every day. The divine intervention in terms of how he made a decision to just $97, how
Mhm.
he made a decision to put a office here and there, to see that every seed that he planted, it's all divine
Right.
interventions. And so there's things in there that I don't think we could explain, but what we could do is take what we experience in our life, what we see in unpassive, and really comparing it, and turn that into the values that we feel that is most valuable to us.
Yes.
So when did you join unpassive?
December of 2020.
December of 2020. That's
Yes.
beautiful. And I bet it has been doing very well for you, and you really enjoying it. Despite of our life has a lot of ups and downs.
Yes, I do. There, of course, there's a lot of family members and people that don't understand what on passive is, and you can't explain what on passive is. You know what I mean? It's kind of something you have to feel what on passive is.
Sure.
Um, so I don't try to explain it too much, because it isn't even, it's not even about the products. The products are going to be amazing for so many companies and people, and that's what I love, is that they're diverse, but they're symbiotic. They're going to work together, and not everybody can go and pull from here and here and put it all together. And On Passive is doing that. They're putting it all together for us, and I love that. But for me, it's more like the things that I've gathered and loved from it is the global connection with people, being able to seeing people break down barriers between different cultures, not having politics, not having all these things get in the way of just conversing with people from all over the world. I mean, that to me is very invaluable, and that, I mean, that is priceless. So yeah, I'm just I'm here, and I'm tending to my garden, and waiting for
Beautiful.
the crop. And
Yeah.
and again, on passive is not going to just be a one-time crop. It's going to keep on providing the fruits of the labor. And I think that's so different. Everything about it is so different from other companies and other businesses that people are involved in, and you have to be in it to understand that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Megan, what motivates you and inspire you most daily? We all wake up and have to decide what we're going to do for the day, beside all the things that we obligated to, like your job and stuff. But what's most motivate you and inspire you to get up and take your day, like a warrior?
um my family, obviously my son, his future, all of those things inspire me, because of course every day is not going to be great, and you do need a motivation. I would say for me, are you speaking about in my just general life, or do you mean with On Passive?
General, general, and
Um,
not passive if you choose to share that as well.
well, I am on every morning with Marty and Chris, and that's it's hard for me to fit every webinar in, but that's one that I have made a point to jump on every day, because I think that community and hearing, it's just everybody's motivating everyone, and that's definitely a good push forward as far as with On Passive. But just the future, and the opportunity, what motivates me is the belief that I'm going to have more of those opportunities for the glimmers, in everyday life. Because it's the strangest things, it's the smallest things that really just give me so much joy, whether that is from a plant or whether that is seeing something that sparks my interest, creativity and my interest as far as creating a piece of artwork. And those are usually things that a lot of people are like, it's just a plant. It's just, but for me,
Much deeper than
it's
that.
much deeper. The colors, the textures,
Yes.
um,
The healthy of the plant that grows,
those
right?
things make me feel alive.
Yes.
And I think with everyday life and you getting caught up in your job and just all of the things you have to do, people stop noticing things that bring them joy and bring them to life. And so what motivates me is that belief that this is going to create opportunities for us to really enjoy those things, to travel, to see new things, to just spend time with new people. We were very fortunate to meet up with Eric Kessler and his
Beautiful
wife,
man. Yeah.
and it was great. And that's, these are connections, kind of like the roots spreading out. These are connections that we would not have made before. So that's kind of what keeps me going, is just knowing that the future is secure and that the future is brighter than it has ever been. The possibility of all of the things that we dream about, helping people, you know um, seeing someone who needs help and actually having the ability to do that. I
So
mean, that's what I tell the students, that you know we get caught up in our own minds, we get caught up in our own troubles, and taking the focus off of us and doing something for someone else is one of the biggest ways to improve your mental health. So that's why I did the project for Seeds Academy for William. That was how we started the school year off last year, and making the art and auctioning it and raising the money and purchasing the goats. And it was very meaningful to a lot of the students, and it was meaningful to me. So being able to do more of those sorts of things, that's what pushes me forward.
absolutely. And I'm very sure Williams and the Seed Academy really appreciate what you have done for them. And also, I'm very sure their children, because your students actually creating something that's purposeful.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, I didn't want to, like I said, in the spirit of Oh Bless, I didn't want it to just be a charity, because, you know, it was good for everyone. It was good for the kids. They created the artwork. They got a grade for it. Our community members purchased the art, so they got something out of it, and their money went towards Williams, the goats and the children. And now those goats, William sends me pictures of them. They've produced babies, and they're, producing more milk, and it's paying it
that's
forward.
awesome. Wow.
So all of those connections, and just being these kids being able to see that they can impact someone across the globe, I think is just really, really cool. And I see that, I think that's going to continue. Once On Passive gets going as a teacher, I believe that it's going to give options in a lot of ways. Options for classroom teachers,
Absolutely.
um, you know, the security level, having a way to connect with people in a secure platform where your data is not going to be shared or misused. And then teaching outside of the classroom. Teachers are going to have options, parents are going to have more options, as far as, if they want to go to public school, or if they don't. It's going to evolve. Things are going to evolve with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it will continue because like the things that you said, we can do things here that connecting to the other side of the world in a purposeful way. So
Yeah,
let me
they
ask you.
don't. It's just going to, it's going to evolve. Things are going to evolve with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it will continue because like the things that you said, we can do things here that connecting to the other side of the
Mhm.
world in a purposeful way. So
Yeah.
let me ask you, what are the what values are most important to you, knowing that we know so far in on passive?
The values about OnPassive that are the most important to me are, number one, the transparency, the fact that it's very ethical. Those That's a big deal. I feel like, we've all, well, not all, but some people have been involved with businesses where you're pushing something that you don't really know if it's really what it says it is. And there's just this feeling in your gut like, what am I doing? So knowing that on passive is exactly what it says it is, that's a big thing. Having that pride in what you're involved with. The other things are that it's global, that it's inclusive, diverse. That value is really, that's big to me. um, and it's accessible. The value is accessible to everyone. So those are the things that I'm just really proud of to be involved with. And like I've said it before, what other company can you have access to the CEO and the COO, and where they'll speak to you? You understand? I mean,
Exactly.
people don't understand how big it is, and how it's just different.
Yes, yes. You know how we've been through, I'm very sure there's many of us been through many company. When we talk about those, there's always things in the back of our mind was unsure, right?
Right.
Like, am I really right? What I'm saying, is that really true? You know,
Right.
but with on passive, everything that we are talking about, knowing what we know, because we get to, it's so amazing how the information that we know about on passive, we can actually connecting and expand it in a way where it is right. Yeah, you could go that direction, you could go this direction, you could
Yeah.
go many way, because it is create, that's the purpose of its creating, for all of us to actually interconnect it together, again my
Yeah.
favorite word, and connecting things that we're doing in our daily life as well. And I love that values that you share, the most um, truthful, like so
Hmm.
transparent, so ethical. That on passive is creating. That's so beautiful. I know we've chatted a little bit, and you talking about mentioning about textile.
Oh.
So tell me about it. I know that's something that you love.
Well, yeah, you saw my face just light up.
Yes.
Um, I have been passionate about textiles for as long as I can remember.
Okay. So
Since
explain what are textile?
um, fabric, anything that's created, with thread, and whether it is antique, whether it is current, but I do love antiques. But I have collected antique textiles from all over the world for as long as I can remember. Vintage clothing has been a big part of the since I was in my early teens. I love thrifting. I love going out to antique shops, but I also have a lot of things from, just all over the world. A lot of textiles from India, a lot of textiles from Thailand. I don't know what it is about it, but that is one of those glimmers for me. Just the work, the craftsmanship that goes into it. I have a lot of Turkish rugs, things like that. So that is definitely something that I want to incorporate into my future, however that may be.
Okay.
I would love to, I don't know, if do some sort of fair trade, reach out to those who, actually create the textiles, and just it's just, I don't know. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. It is definitely one of my biggest passions.
That's beautiful. So I've always asked question about when people are interested in things like what you're saying.
Mhm.
What's your exit strategy, right? Because you collect, are you going to collect them, put them in museum, create a museum,
Oh
for
yeah.
example, or are you going to put it up fair trade or put it up on a store like a antique store to sell? What's your exit strategies for all the items that you've collected?
Well, some of them I use. Some of them I use in, home decor, things like that. Other things that I don't, I haven't had time because of the 9 to 5 life
Right.
to really explore that. But in my head, the way it looks is that I want to use them to create other things, whether that is something for home decor, whether that is something for fashion. I want to use them, and then obviously sell those, etc. It is more just of a, I do a lot of mixed media art where I
Mhm.
use many different materials in my work.
Your work.
So that is what I want to do with these things. I want to have my own studio and sew and, create with the things that I have. They're just, I don't want to just keep them. I mean, some of them I do want to keep, but it's just the richness in thinking about the person who must have created that, thinking about the history and the time that they spent, and just knowing that I'm touching something that was created by someone in Egypt or, back whatever, 75 years ago. It's just, I don't know. It's just,
It's so satisfying, I
it is
bet.
very satisfying to me.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
And I also hear what you're saying. I'm thinking everything has a story behind it,
Yes.
right? And imagine if you saw this piece of carpet or piece of rug and you're like, oh, this is where it came from. The hands of how many people actually
Yes.
putting that together. Absolutely beautiful. I do hope that with OnPassive tools and platforms that you have, I do hope that someday I will get to read the stories of all the pieces that you have. It
Yeah.
would be beautiful. And you know what, Megan? I believe that we can do that with the
Mhm.
help with OnPassive tools
Yes.
and what they are creating. This is beautiful, beautiful
Yes. Um,
conversation.
when I got married, I was able to design the dress, and I used some of those textiles in the dress. It was a long story about how I came across the person who actually made it, but it was a last minute thing, and she saved the day. Her skills were amazing because she was able to take my vision and bring it to life. And one of the pieces was an 18th century tablecloth with handmade lace, and she dissected it and took it all apart and used pieces of it. The other part of it was I actually did a video chat with a woman from India that I had just came across online. She went to the market and I picked out the fabric that I had, and I bought it, and she sent it to me. There were all these different things incorporated into the dress, and yeah, so that was really satisfying to be able to
Absolutely.
actually use.
Yes, absolutely beautiful dress. I
Thank you.
checked it out last night, your pictures and stuff like
Thank
that
you.
to know a little bit more about you. But beautiful story. I love what you are representing yourself. I love the stories that you tell. You are such
Thank
an
you.
inspiration for, especially for your your children. I'm calling the students or your children, and the community of Unpassive. Um, so what would be the first thing you purchase?
Um,
You'd really know what I mean. What would be
yeah.
as
Well,
small, as little, or as big? The
well,
first thing.
To be honest, the first thing would be to pay off bills. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that would be the truth. Just to get that clean slate, and go from there. Um, as far as beyond that, I just, I don't know about the first thing. I mean, that is really really where my head is. I mean, I'm dreaming, but I want that exhale of knowing that I am debt free and that things are headed in the right direction, even though I know it's so much bigger than that. And I know that I don't have, I mean, I love interior design. I want to, do more with that. I want to do more with the gardening. I want to do things in the community. Actually, this is kind of just a thought in my head, but our church that we went to shut down after COVID. And the pastor, he's just so gifted. His ability, his speaking ability, and the way he, conveys the message. He's so gifted. And I would love to be able to do something to put that back in motion. And just things like that. So it's more than just what I want to buy. I mean, obviously there's things that I want to buy, but I want to just be able to live that life that's been in my head.
Beautiful. I love this conversation, Megan, and thank you so much for accept my invitation. So my one last question, Megan, if lyrics was to listen to this message, let's say 10 years, 20 years from now, what would be a message you leave for lyrics?
I would just tell him that, any struggles that he has been through, whether it is personally, now, later, I would just tell him that, they're all temporary, and that one of the things that I used to tell myself when I was little is, this too shall pass. That was my favorite verse, my favorite saying that my grandfather used to say. It resonated with me in the sense that when you're going through something difficult, that you always just have to remember that your future self is going to look back on it and it's going to be over. And I hope that he, keeps that in his mind as he grows up, that this too shall pass, whatever it is, whatever the struggle, that there will be a future without that struggle. That's just something that, I would love for him to
continue.
Yeah, because, it hasn't been easy. There's been struggles in our lives. There's been struggles, in his life. But tomorrow is going to be a brighter day. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything okay. Well, everything is okay at the end.
Yeah. And one of the last things that I want to say that reminds me of kind of what we were talking about earlier and connects to this is, when you plant a tree, when you're inexperienced as far as that, you want to support it too much. People put a tie and they stake it on all sides and try to really make sure it's just straight up and down and it has no wiggle room. But it's the wind, it's the adversity that creates the stronger roots. You have to leave the tree with enough wiggle room that it can sway back and forth. And that's what creates those roots digging in deeper and digging in deeper. And I think that we have to remember that all of these things that we go through and all of the things that ONPASSIVE is going through, those are the wins. Those are the adversities that are creating those roots to grab harder and grow stronger. And yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I do hope that the viewers of this video could learn from you and could connect with you, because I do believe heart to heart always connect when when you're moving on the right direction. And I believe that there are so many people in the world could connect with you,
Oh,
celebrating with you on what you have achieved, celebrating with you, and also just simply uh, seeing your smile every day
aw,
inspire
thank
them
you
as
so
well. So
much.
I appreciate you very much,
I
and
appreciate you too.
thank you everyone for watching.